Hey there, I'm the storyteller from Nightmare at 3 a.m., and I'm here to keep you company tonight. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. When you're ready, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and relax. The story's about to begin. My street is the kind you only find if you're really looking for it. No outlet, no shops, nothing special. Single-story houses, tall gates, white bars. A neighborhood for people who've already given up on the city, but don't have the money to leave it entirely. After my wife died, I stayed by inertia. The place wasn't good or bad, it was familiar, and that was enough. I spend my days tending to what's left. Hosing down the sidewalk, cleaning the AC filter, heating frozen meals. Sometimes I chat with the mailman, other times with the neighbor's dog, the one that barks at dry leaves. Nobody on the street gets involved with anyone, and that, for me, was always enough. Until number 68 changed hands. It had been empty for years. The former owner left after a divorce and let it rot. The real estate agency cleaned it, painted over the walls, swapped out the gate. And then he appeared, the new neighbor. He arrived in a dark car, no bumper stickers, license plate from out of town, 2 large suitcases. That's it. No help. No moving truck. Just him. Short, thin, mid-40s maybe. Scruffy beard. Eyes that avoided yours, not out of shyness but calculation. I said good morning. He nodded and went inside. The first few weeks, nothing seemed off. He went out rarely, seemed to spend most of his time indoors. At night, I'd sometimes see the blue flicker of a TV through the window. Other nights, complete silence. No visitors, no noise, no interaction. If it had been anyone else, some neighbor would have started speculating. But here, everyone's tired. No one wants trouble. But trouble doesn't need permission to arrive. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke to a muffled sound. Not quite a scream. More like a low cry or a whispered plea, half swallowed. It took me a while to believe it was real. I opened my living room window, slowly, looked toward number 68. Nothing, just the hallway light on, his car in the garage. I went back to bed with a bad taste in my mouth. The next week, I heard it again. Another late night, this time sharper. Like someone had slapped an open palm on something hollow. Twice. Then silence. The next morning, I stood at my front gate, pretending to sweep the sidewalk. His door was ajar, no sound, no movement, seemed empty. But the car was still there. I tried good morning again. Nothing. The gate closed by itself. The third time, it wasn't sound. It was sight. I saw with my own eyes a teenage girl trying to climb over the back wall of number 68. Thin, hair tied back, oversized t-shirt. She was climbing slowly, like she didn't have the strength. She saw me, she froze, looked straight at me but didn't call for help. She was yanked back down fast. I didn't see who grabbed her, didn't hear a scream. Nothing. Just the garage door closing a few seconds later. I waited until the next day to decide what to do. Thought about calling the police, but what could I say? No name, no proof. Just a feeling that something terrible was happening a few steps away from me. Late that afternoon, I went to his gate. Knocked. He opened fast, like he'd been waiting. Yes? I couldn't speak. Just looked at him. He stared back. No smile, but not hostile either. Is there a problem? No, I said. Just Wanted to check if everything's okay. He nodded, closed the door slowly, no click, no lock. That night, I started planning to go in, not out of curiosity, but because someone had to do something. And on that street, where no one looked sideways, I was the only one who saw. It was a light rain that Friday night, cold wind crawling under doors. I waited until 3 a.m. Streetlights off. Total silence. I saw the neighbor's car was gone. Maybe he'd gone out. Maybe he wasn't coming back. I grabbed a small flashlight, a screwdriver, put on my darkest coat, crossed the street in short steps. His front gate was ajar. It never locked. On the porch, I took a deep breath, turned the doorknob, unlocked. The house was cold, empty, no scent at all. I stepped in slowly, everything clean, too clean. Living room with a perfectly aligned sofa, shelves without a single crooked book, kitchen spotless, dry dishes, no clutter, no magnets on the fridge. Down the hallway, I saw a darker wooden door, latched. The latch gave easily, a staircase leading down, no ceiling, no finishing, just raw concrete and wood. My flashlight was just strong enough to show that the basement was large and in use. I took one step at a time. The smell came first, a mix of dampness, melted plastic, and old metal. In the center of the space under a dim bulb, I saw it. The chair. Not new, heavy wood, no padding, but with leather straps on each armrest. 2 across the seat, likely for the thighs. 1 by the floor, where the feet would rest. The straps were worn, stained, stretched. Next to it, a plastic bin. I didn't want to know what was inside. A funnel, a rolled-up cloth, something with a buckle. And in the corner of the wall, a mark. Like a fingernail, it scraped into the concrete again and again. That's when I realized I wasn't breathing. I heard the door open upstairs, firm footsteps, hard soles. He was back. I killed the flashlight, froze. The light turned on upstairs, then on the stairs, and then he spoke. I thought it would take longer. His voice was calm, no rush, no shock. I didn't answer. I knew you'd come in. You're the type who comes in. Steps reached the top of the stairs, but he didn't come down. He stood there, waiting for me to climb up on my own. The problem isn't what we do, it's when someone decides to look. Silence. She needed correction. That wasn't a child. It was a mistake in progress. I just stopped the process. My hands were shaking. I wanted to run. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to die right there so I wouldn't have to understand what he meant. But all I did was climb back up. Slowly, he stepped aside. Let me pass. Are you going to tell someone? I looked at him. Yes. He smiled. Small, almost polite. That's fine. I cleaned everything already. And then, no one will want to hear it. That night, I called the police. Told them everything, the break-in, the basement, the girl, what I saw, what I heard. They arrived at 5 a.m, knocked. He opened the door. They let me go in with them. We went to the basement. The chair was gone. The floor had been washed, still wet, reeked of bleach. The box, gone. The straps, gone. A fan spinning in the corner, no evidence. The officer gave me a look, wrote something down, said they'd follow up. No one called again. 2 days later, I moved out. Didn't sell the house. Left the key in the mailbox. Packed what I had and moved to a rented apartment in another part of town. Smaller, uglier, but no stairs, no basement. On my last night, I looked across at 68. He was at the gate, hands in his pockets, neutral posture. He saw me and just nodded once. It's been 3 weeks since I left that street. I still wake up at the same time. I still leave the porch light on. I still avoid looking out the window for too long. The new apartment is small, no yard, no stairs. The door clicks loud when it locks. That comforts me. I never heard back from the police. No report, no follow-up, no confirmation of anything. Just silence that sounds like understood, or worse, like ignored. House 68 is still there, repainted, quiet, back on the market. The listing says, well-ventilated space, ideal for those seeking privacy. And I'm still trying to figure out what exactly hurt the most. What I saw in that basement, or the certainty that no one wanted to see it with me. I don't think I'm brave. I went into that house out of guilt, out of instinct, because if I didn't, I would have become complicit through silence. But now, after all of it, the question isn't about him. It's about us, about how many people saw that girl climbing the wall and looked away, how many heard the sounds and turned up their TV, how many now say, I had no idea. The street didn't change because he chose the perfect street. Sometimes I think I made the mistake. I broke the rule, crossed the line, refused the pact that keeps neighborhoods like that going. Because seeing doesn't fix anything. It only takes away the comfort of not knowing. And when no one else wants to know, knowledge becomes a sentence. Like Hannah Arendt said, the greatest evil is the evil committed by no one. I follow that thought because that basement existed, the chair existed, and someone existed there for a while, trapped. And now all that's left is the memory. And a man like me who can't walk into a house anymore without checking if he's alone, even when he is. My name's Jeff Duncan. I'm 52, divorced, live alone. I deliver tools for a living, wrench kits, drill sets, electrical gear. I drive around a lot. Suburbs, cul-de-sacs, construction sites. I know every dead end in this town. Most days I just want to get home, heat up leftovers and watch the game. That's the truth. I'm not the kind of guy who looks for trouble, but sometimes trouble parks right in front of you. The first time I noticed it, I was doing a drop near Franklin Elementary just after noon. A plain white van, no windows on the sides, no logo, no tags, just sitting there, engine running. I thought, delivery guy, or a plumber, or some dude waiting for his kid. But 2 hours later, when I passed by again, it was still there. Same spot, same sound, still running. Didn't think too much of it until I saw it again the next day. Different street, same van. Over the next week, it kept happening. Always parked, always running, never anyone getting in, never anyone getting out. Once, it was outside the strip mall, then behind the post office, then, weirdly, 2 blocks from the church, around 4:30 in the afternoon. I started snapping quick photos, just for myself. Plates were clean, windows tinted too dark to see through, no company name, no driver ever visible, just present. Like the van was watching something or waiting. I tried not to spiral. I mean, who am I? A nobody with a good eye for parking patterns. But I couldn't let it go. Something about the way it moved. It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt planned. And the kicker, that van started showing up closer to my neighborhood. One morning, I saw it parked at the end of my street, facing my house. Engine off this time. No one inside. 10 minutes later, it was gone. I talked to the cops once, went down to the station with the photos, said I didn't want to make trouble, just thought they should check it out. The officer gave me a tight smile. It's probably a private security unit. Sometimes contractors use unmarked vehicles. I asked if that was legal. He shrugged. If they're not breaking any laws, there's not much we can do. Then he added, "You sure you're not just seeing things, sir?" That shut me up. But I knew I wasn't, because a week later, I saw a little girl, maybe 8 or 9, run out from the edge of a wooded lot and bang her fist on the back of that same van. 3 quick knocks, desperate. Then she froze, looked around, and disappeared back into the trees. The van didn't move, didn't respond, didn't even blink. And that's when I realized it wasn't just a van. It was a cage, and someone was still holding the key. The next time I saw the van, I didn't wait. It was a Wednesday, mid-morning. The van was idling on a side road near the back entrance of Roosevelt Park, far from houses near where the tree line thickens. I turned off my delivery route, looped around the block, and parked 2 streets over. Grabbed my phone, left the engine running. I followed on foot. The van pulled out slow like it was in no rush. I stayed just far enough back. It turned onto a county road I barely remembered existed, half paved, no signs, no lines. It went past a crumbling fence and slipped into a gate I hadn't seen since high school. An old repair yard, abandoned, windows shattered, rust climbing the walls. I waited 5 minutes, then crossed the road and slipped in through the broken fencing. The van was there, parked behind the main building. No movement, no driver, just heat rising off the hood. I crept around the side, cracked the back door open an inch. The first thing I noticed was the silence, not the kind you get from nature, the kind you get from insulation, from someone deliberately erasing sound. Inside, it was dim. The cargo area had been stripped bare and rebuilt. The floor was padded with vinyl, the walls lined with foam and fiberboard. It looked clean, not tidy, sterile, unnaturally so. I stepped closer. There was a backpack on the floor, bright pink, Peppa Pig. Next to it, a tiny pair of light-up sneakers, one of them scuffed at the heel, and a plastic thermos with a chewed-up straw. My stomach dropped. There were no restraints visible, no blood, no signs of struggle. But the van didn't feel like a vehicle anymore. It felt like a holding space, like someone had made this into a waiting room for something worse. I backed out slowly, heart in my throat. That's when I heard footsteps, fast, crunching gravel, coming toward me. I turned, and there he was, the driver, not angry, not surprised, just aware. Plain jacket, blue jeans, gloves. He didn't yell, he didn't run. He just looked at me and said calmly, "You shouldn't be here." For a second, I couldn't move. Then instinct kicked in. I yanked the van's back door shut, locked it from the outside, ran to my car, didn't look back. I got home and uploaded every photo I took. The shoes, the backpack, the thermos, the foam walls. Then I went to the police station again. This time, I didn't ask. I told. I gave them names, addresses, times. I printed the map of where the van had been, gave them the license plate, showed them the photos. They said they'd assign someone to it. I asked if they'd send someone that day. They couldn't promise. So I went home and waited, because now I wasn't just scared of what I saw. I was scared of what they'd do if they did nothing. They didn't call me back that night or the next morning. By the third day, I drove back to the property myself. I knew I shouldn't. I knew what I'd find. The gate was open. The van was gone. The building had been burned from the inside out. Blackened walls, ash where the floor used to be, the smell still fresh enough to sting. No one around. No police tape, no statement, no answers. I went home and turned off my phone, but that night I checked my email out of habit. One new message, no subject, no text, just one photo. My house, taken from across the street at night. The van was parked in the corner of the frame, half in shadow, engine off, watching. I sent it to the police. No reply. I stopped sleeping after that, not deeply anyway. I started waking up at 2 a.m. like clockwork just to check the window. No van, not anymore. But the feeling stayed. A week later, I read that a girl had gone missing in a town 40 miles north. Same age as the one I saw. No trace, no suspects, no mention of a van. I printed the article. I don't know why. Maybe to remind myself it was still happening, or maybe because I knew deep down I'd failed. Like George Orwell said, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. I followed that thought because I spoke. I brought photos, names, evidence. I did everything I was supposed to, and it didn't matter. Now, I live in a house with the blinds all the way down, where I keep a bat near the door and 2 locks on every window. I still deliver tools, still wave to neighbors, but I don't smile anymore because I know something they don't. The worst monsters don't hide in the dark. They park on your street in broad daylight and wave back. My name's Frank Carter. I'm 61 years old, and I've lived on this street for almost 3 decades. I know the sounds of this neighborhood like I know my own breathing. Lawnmowers on Saturday mornings, sprinklers clicking before dawn, the occasional dog losing its mind over a squirrel. People around here are decent, not friendly exactly, just consistent. Since my wife died, I mostly keep to myself. I water the lawn, I fix whatever needs fixing. I talk to the mailman more than anyone else, and I don't mind it. Until the guy moved into number 27. It used to be old Mr. Gill's house. He passed last winter, and the place sat quiet for a few months. Then one morning, I saw a U-Haul. No moving company, just one guy, unloading everything himself. Mid-30s maybe. Tall, lean. Drove a silver hatchback that didn't look like it belonged to anyone in particular. He nodded when I waved. Didn't smile, didn't frown, just nodded. That was the only time we had any real interaction. He moved in fast. By the end of the day, blinds were drawn, garage closed, no porch furniture, no mail left out. The house just sort of closed up. At first, I told myself I was just adjusting to change. Some folks are quiet, private. I get that. But it was hard not to notice the little things, like how the garage light was on every night, well past midnight, or how he never pulled his car out, not once, or how some nights I'd wake up around 3 a.m. and hear faint scraping sounds like something being dragged across concrete, always from the garage. Then there was the woman. The first time I saw her, I was taking the trash out. She stepped out of the side door quickly, looked both ways, and went right back in. Long hair, wearing a hoodie. Didn't glance at me. The next day, I saw her again, but wearing something completely different. Hair tied up. This time she saw me. Just for a second. She didn't wave, but she looked straight at me and shook her head once, slow, like she was saying, Don't. Then she was gone. I tried to make sense of it. Maybe it was a cousin, a girlfriend. Maybe it was none of my business. But the more I told myself that, the more it felt like a lie. Because it wasn't just one woman. It was the same woman, seen in flashes, always fast, always quiet, always looking like she wanted to be anywhere else. That Sunday, I passed by on my morning walk and noticed something I hadn't seen before. A strip of duct tape stuck to the bottom corner of the garage door, like someone had tried to seal the inside or keep something from leaking out. That's when I made up my mind. I told myself, if I hear anything again tonight, I'm going in. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my chair by the window, lights off, watching the side of number 27 like it was a TV I couldn't turn off. Around 2:30 a.m., the garage light flicked on. A few minutes later, I heard it again. That same dragging sound, slow, rhythmic, like a heavy box being pulled across cement. Then silence. Then a low, muffled voice. Male, one word, maybe two. Couldn't make them out. And that was enough. I grabbed a spare flashlight from the drawer, put on my jacket, and went outside. The garage door wasn't locked. I expected it to be, honestly. I even brought a flathead screwdriver just in case. But the handle turned quietly, like it had never been locked at all. I pushed it open inch by inch. It was warm inside, not from a heater, more like body heat. No windows, no airflow, just heat and stale air. I stepped in. It looked like any garage at first, boxes stacked against the wall, some tools, nothing unusual, until I noticed something strange about the floor. The concrete was lined with scuff marks, long, narrow streaks, like something had been dragged back and forth, again and again. From the center of the room toward the side door, and near the wall, a metal folding chair, not folded, worn, dented, and next to it, a cloth sack, half open. Inside the sack, duct tape, a roll of rope, a pair of scissors, a rag, and a spoon, clean, bent at the neck. There was a door at the back of the garage. I hadn't noticed it from the street, no markings, no window, just a handle and an old brass lock. I tried it, locked, but as I turned to leave, I heard it, a small metallic rattle, like a chain brushing against a pipe, and then a sound I hadn't heard before, a breath, not a gasp, just an exhale, software slow, from the other side of the door. I stood there for a long time, then said quietly, "Hello?" No answer, but I heard movement, then silence. I don't remember exactly how I got the door open. I think I used the flathead to snap the lock. My hands were shaking too much to do it neatly. When it gave, it made a sound like teeth breaking. I stepped inside. It was a room, small, bare, no furniture, no shelves, just a thin mattress on the floor, a folded towel, and a plastic tray with half-eaten food. The smell hit me like a slap. Sweat, metal, damp wood, something sour underneath it all, and in the corner sitting on the floor, half covered in a blanket, the woman. Same one. She looked up at me with eyes that didn't blink right away. Then she said, barely above a whisper, "He's not here, but he'll come back." I asked her if she needed help. She just nodded. Once, that was enough. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911 right there in the room. My voice cracked, but I got the words out. When I looked back at her, she was still staring at the door, not at me, at the door, like it might open at any second. The police arrived 23 minutes later. 2 cruisers, lights off, no sirens, like they were responding to a parking complaint. Not what I told the dispatcher. I met them in the driveway, told them everything again, calmly, clearly, even though my mouth felt like sand. They followed me to the garage. The door was closed again, but I hadn't touched it. One of the officers asked if I had a key. I said no. When they opened it, the light was off. The scuff marks were gone, so were the boxes, the sack, the chair, and the back door welded shut. They searched the house, top to bottom, took photos, asked a few shallow questions, wrote down my statement like they were copying something off a menu. They found nothing. No woman, no mattress, no food tray, not even a smell. Everything, and I mean everything, was gone, like it had never been there. Later that morning, I asked a few neighbors, folks I hadn't spoken to in months. I asked if they'd seen the woman or if they'd heard anything strange from 27. Every single one of them gave me the same polite shrug. No, haven't noticed anything. He kept to himself, I guess. Didn't even know someone had moved in. That's what scared me the most. Not that they hadn't seen, that they didn't want to. 2 days later, the house was empty again. The garage light never turned on after that. The hatchback was gone. A for rent sign was propped up on the front lawn like nothing had ever happened. I called the police department for a follow-up. The case number they gave me didn't lead to anything. The woman, no record, no report, no missing persons match, just air. I still live here, same house, same porch, same lawn. But now I keep a camera pointed at the garage next door, even though it's empty, even though I know it won't help, even though part of me believes it was set up to disappear from the start, because that's the trick. They don't just hide people. They hide the evidence you ever tried to help. Like James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. I follow that thought. But there's one part Baldwin didn't mention. Sometimes you face it, and it changes nothing. If you made it this far, then some part of you knows. Not all trails end when the path runs out. And for that, thank you for listening all the way through. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It helps this project grow and keeps the stories coming. And now, I want to hear from you. Which story hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. The woods may forget your footsteps, but those who listen never forget the sound. I'll see you in the next episode.